Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a very special edition of TopstepTV. We have Coach Ray here with us. It is Halloween, so we decided to have a bit of fun with that. So we have David Lee Roth over here, special guest, and a random unicorn. All right, so I'm just going to mute myself on YouTube because that's very confusing. So let's have a look at what's going on. Ray, welcome to the London session once again. How are you doing
Good to be
today?
good to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's great. It's great to actually have a co-host. I always love it when you join me here. So it's not just lonely little Dee doing the analysis, but we can actually talk through some ideas. And
Yeah,
I popped
absolutely.
into your room last night, the
Uh-huh.
coach's classroom. That was a
Yeah.
very good run through. So can you tell us a little bit of about what's going on with your? Is it Market Hunters now? I saw that you changed the
Yeah,
name.
we basically changed our name to Mind Hunters.
Mindset.
Mindset Hunters. Mindset Hunters.
Yes, that's
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So we spent a lot of time in the room there talking about mindset actually. Um as funny as it, I think it's probably an underrepresented aspect of our trading, to be honest.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of discussion about having the proper mindset when we trade. Trying to set aside some of the emotions that sometimes we bring into our trading that causes us to do crazy things. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
So
use a that mental game scoring thing from Jared Tendler.
oh, okay.
Yeah, and I found it incredibly helpful for myself as well, even after all this time,
Hmm.
because at the beginning of this year we obviously had the whole leaderboard that was introduced, and suddenly they started attaching like numbers to our names, and my
Correct.
mindset just went completely into
Yeah.
my over competitive state. So
Correct.
naturally I started doing stupid trades, and I'm
Mm.
still kind of trying to lick my wounds from doing stupid things like that. And
Yeah.
nobody is
Absolutely.
really immune, you know,
Hmm.
ever. But I'm going to show you what I do. So I have this. Hold on, let me share my screen. I have this sort of a process. Now,
Hmm.
up here is the mental game. I do have some supplements that I take. It's like, matcha tea, nicotine patches. It just helps me focus and helps me
Hmm.
calm down. And I
Hmm.
find that matcha green tea is really good for that. Now, mental game here, I have not too much on the A game, because when you're on your A game, there's not that much stuff that you need to, pay attention to. But the
Mm.
B game is when I'm looking at my P&L. A lot of the times I do actually block out my P&L completely. But
Hmm.
obviously some people are like, oh, why are you hiding your balance? It's like, I'm not hiding it because I'm trying to hide anything. I just
No.
don't want to stare at the P&L, right? Because I
Correct.
know that gets me off my game. And
Mm.
then not taking a scratch trade if it comes back twice to my entry within like 15, 20 minutes.
Mm.
And then having an understanding, this is my big trigger, and then not having the follow through. So that starts
Right.
to irk me. So I have a good idea, I have a good level, we're hanging there, it's just not moving. And that tends
Hmm.
to try and get me, off my game. And then obviously C game is totally terrible, flipping and flopping between longs and shorts,
Right.
undecided on direction, not staying aware of 4 hour and daily charts,
Mm.
location too zoomed in, trading P&L, not following my 2R to 2.3R multiples rule. So all of that. And then tactical skills, some of the stuff that's cropped up probably within the 3 months, which is why I have these kind of highlighted, because they
Hmm.
cause the most problem. So losing a
Hmm.
London trade, then opening another one randomly and carrying it over into IB. Caught myself doing that a couple of times. And it's not like we make these mistakes every single day, at least not for me. However, whenever I see that something is really affecting me, I want to make sure that I keep a lid on that. And obviously, doing that leads to pretty good results. Like, I've obviously been able to control myself really well. And we're now sitting at 10 days of
That's awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this can't last, right? This is like an out of ridiculous statistical stuff. But I just thought it was interesting that you just put a little bit of a lid on those mental triggers and suddenly, you are outperforming yourself, so to speak.
Yeah,
So
no,
what?
it's amazing.
Yeah,
I think I've shared the story with you before, but I remember when I was trying to get through the combine and I was getting up to one within $400 or $300 of passing the combine, and I would have a setback. I would have a
yeah,
setback of, a series of trades would take me back to less than more than 1,000. And I went through that process 3 or 4 different times, run up
yeah,
to 300, and then there was like this mental barrier.
yeah,
And so one of the first things I did, and I don't know if I got this from one of the sessions, psychological sessions that they offer at Topstep, but I went ahead and removed everything to ticks. I didn't put any sort of dollar values on anywhere on my platform,
yeah.
and I would say that within 3 days, I passed the combine. So
Amazing, right?
there is something to this dollar game.
Oh
You're
yeah,
trying
oh
to
yeah.
achieve.
Well, because we get zoomed in and then you're chasing, right? You're like, oh, it's just
Hmm.
300. Like, didn't Dolby say he got within like 1 cent of passing a combine, and
Right,
then he derailed the entire combine? It's like,
right, right.
really?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's amazing how that kind of plays out in our trading all the time. So
Yeah.
something to keep note of all the time.
Yeah, so let's get into some of these markets. We have Paul H, who I'm hoping to actually get onto the London stream as well. So I will deal with that at some point. It's just too many
Okay.
things. But yeah, so he has a question. He says, "How does open interest affect price or bars? And in gold on TradingView, should I be looking at Z 2024 or November? The current front month contract is whichever one has the highest volume. Right
Hmm.
now for gold, it is December. Now, when it comes to commodities, they have delivery months that match demand of the market, right? So you're not always going to get orderly months. Like gold does have monthly contracts, but there's a lot of demand for gold in December. Why? Because we have Christmas period, everybody's buying presents and stuff. So it makes sense that whoever is the producer or user of gold, like a jewelry store or something like that, they will have the most need for delivery in December, not really in November, right? So this is why you see gold sometimes jump ahead a couple of months, and then it's like, well, suddenly we're trading December. Like, what gives? What happened to November? That's why. So just keep that in mind. Now, Coach Ray, do you want to take the open interest question? You might be able to answer that a bit better than me.
Open interest is like anything, as far as you can see here, I have some kind of volume indicators. I have volume delta there on the bottom. And I'm always interested to understand, especially if I'm in a directional trade, I want to make sure that the volume is in my direction. Right. So I feel a lot more confident in my trade and supports my trade management if I have volume uh, also aligned with the direction of my trade because I feel I have sort of the momentum behind me. Right. So as price is moving in my direction, if volume is following in that same direction, am I getting in the bottom here? I'm getting green bars also going in that same direction. That gives me confidence that I am in the right trade because volume tends to follow price.
Excellent. And do you use volume delta on the 30-minute chart, or do you look at it on lower time frames?
In my main, I would say my main chart is probably the 15-minute,
Mm-hmm.
is because it's kind of my trigger chart. And then as I get closer to an opportunity, I'll drop down to a 2-minute chart.
Right.
But at that point, it's less about volume and it's more about price action.
Yeah.
So I'll draw these, little channels and things of that nature that kind of help me stay on the right side of the trade.
Yeah, you use
So
channels. I do remember that.
yeah,
Yeah. I use
I
this.
do use quite a bit of channels just
Yeah.
to keep my mindset on the right side to
Yeah.
let price kind of be the kind of an objective measure
Yeah.
rather than letting me on my emotions say, oh, look at this bar, it's making this massive move, I must get in, that type of
Yeah.
thing, right?
We've all
So
been
I
there.
I, I just draw these little channels, and that kind of keeps me kind of you know, and then once I get that break of the channel, then I feel like okay, that's the event that I'm looking for.
Yeah, I have something similar that I do with lower time frames. Now, depending on what I'm trading, I'm either going to use Renko bars or tick charts, but I
Mm-hmm.
always have some sort of a moving average 9 EMAs on there. And
Mm-hmm.
one of the reasons is okay, this is probably going to be different now, so let me just move that down. So, for example, if I'm looking for a dedicated move down, let me just see what looks the best. Let's take a look at platinum. Right, so platinum is now clearly below this little channel ribbon. So it's sort of the similar thing, right? You're looking for the 9 EMAs that I've got on this chart to stay below the ribbon. So it is a
Mm-hmm.
similar thing to a channel. And
Yeah.
then if I'm entering a trade, I really want to see a decisive move up above the ribbon, and then I want it to
Right.
hold. So ideally, I don't really want to get involved until I see that move,
Right.
and it's it's a nice way to get you into a trade by using some systematic price action, but it can also get you out of a trade. You know, if I'm
Right.
already let's just say I'm already in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hypothetically, well, if it actually got to this sort of price action that early on, that would actually worry me, and I
Yeah.
would exit the trade because we pushed above it, and
Right.
and we have another candle that's closing above it. Now this is a tick chart, so there is no time attached to it, and that's another good point, right? So you don't always want to be completely glued in with time. For example, if you get close to your profit target, so instead
Right.
of being high on hopium that it's going to get there, do or die, sort of being ick for a tick,
Yeah. Yeah.
then you effectively have something to tell you, okay, well, we're close to the target, but now it's turned around, and
Mm.
maybe I should just kill this. And
Yeah.
anytime my trade gets to 75% to target, I actually start thinking about exiting. When I don't,
Right.
that means I'm off my mental game, and I
Correct.
immediately kind of go to my journal, and I'm like, nah, you're slipping.
Yes. Yes. I have this concept called tip the doorman. So I tip the
Tip the
doorman
doorman.
10%. Yeah, once I get within 10% of my target, right?
Yeah,
So I said,
yeah,
well, if I'm able to get 90% of the move, or even 90% of the move, then I have to be willing to tip the doorman 10%. And
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's kind of how I kind of do the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say tip the doormat. Yeah, so with the risk reward, now I know that both of us go for the positive risk reward. That's why you don't need super high accuracy. It's a
Hmm.
lot more stable. You
Hmm.
can actually afford a few flops here and there as long as the positioning and stuff is conducive to the risk management of the overall account.
Hmm.
But I'm just going to say to people who have sort of a one-to-one risk rewards, if you do what Ray is doing, tip the doorman, maybe you want to consider just increasing that target a little bit. So maybe
Right.
aim for like 1.2, and then you
Hmm.
can take it off at 1.1 just to make
Right.
the system a bit more stable. Recently, I've
Right.
seen a lot of people who are coming to me who are just one-to-one traders or worse, right? It's like
Hmm.
0.8, 0.7.
Yeah.
Occasionally they get one-to-one and they're like, well, how do I improve this?
Mm.
And they think it's not a problem. But the issue is you need a very high accuracy to do that.
Right.
Very, very high accuracy. And
Right.
that's a tough way to live. Like, I don't know about you, Ray, but, I don't want to be able to have to, perform every single day. I'm in my mid 40s, the brain doesn't work as well. And,
Right.
and, and it's like, you just don't want that kind of stress. That's a young
Yeah.
person's game. Yeah.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think there's a lot to sort of mental capital, I would say, and I think if you're in that kind of one-to-one or less, I think the mental capital begins to train over time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Time
I,
is
I
the real
think
measure.
yeah, I think of these trades as kind of in baseball terms, single, double, triple, home
Yeah.
run type
Yeah.
of thing. So in my chart, if I don't have at least a triple or a home run available, not to say that it may not get there, but the opportunity does exist,
Yeah.
right? So if it ends up as a single or a double or something like that, that's okay because that's already kind of built into the sort of the target levels that I've established.
Yeah. Yeah.
If I
The
can't
system.
find more than a single in the trade, then that's probably not a trade I want to be a part of.
Yeah. Exactly. I avoid those as well. I mean, if I am in a trade that I'm aiming for a larger move, but it just so happens to run out of steam, like you say, it's okay to take it off at 35 ticks, 30 ticks. Like
Right.
it's fine. Not every
Right.
trade is going to go straight to target,
Right.
but we have to be aware that if you're shooting for the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 R. That's
Mm.
great, but that is going to come at a much, much lower accuracy because you're not going to get those kinds of moves every day.
Correct.
So, in my eyes, we have to find a middle ground between a risk reward and sort of medium risk reward and medium accuracy. To me, that's been extremely widely successful. And
Hmm.
whoever I got onto that sort of an idea, they quickly turned around their results as well and started seeing success. And it's because it's much easier. First of all, you can make mistakes. It allows
Hmm.
for mistakes. Second
Hmm.
of all, you have math on your side. You're
Right.
constantly going to be in positive because you're never over trading. You have 2 to 3 trades per day. That's all we need. You have, especially if you trade one product, we see people who are like doing 50 trades on NQ. It's like, what are you doing? Like, really? It's like,
Yeah.
how can you even find 50 trades? Like, that
Correct.
can't be quality over quantity ever.
Correct.
But that
Correct.
guy that was yesterday on the shoulder tap, was it Eric someone? He was a
Uh-huh.
scalper. 8
Uh-huh.
minutes hold times for winners, 3 minutes hold times for losers, but he only does 3 trades per day. Now,
Okay.
that is scalping done right, okay?
Correct. Correct.
Very selective,
Yes.
reasonable hold times. So it's not like, quick draw, McDraw kind of thing.
Hmm.
8 minutes for a scalp. I've had trades that have lasted 8 minutes,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's ways to do it correctly and ways to just completely derail your account. But
Hmm.
anytime you trade more than 3 a day, you have to be so careful because of the intraday sensitivity to any inconsistencies you might have. If you're
Right.
trading one lot one time and then, full ported at 5 or 10, 15, the next
Yeah.
trade, that's never going to work. You're
Right.
varying the parameters too much. You have
Correct.
yeah.
Correct.
So we have to be as consistent across the board as possible. And I know it's a big, big thing,
Hmm.
but that's what it takes to have some results.
Yeah.
Without that,
Yeah.
you're just going
It's
to be
funny
spinning your
because I
wheels.
get the question a lot. I say, well, I just get out of the trade and I talk through the trade, and then they'll ask me, well, did you take the reversal? I said, well, I just got out of a trade that was profitable. My mindset is still kind of focused on the fact that it's in that one direction.
Yeah,
I understand that I got my target, but that's no guarantee it's going to go reverse the other way either, right?
exactly.
So
Yeah,
so I'd like giving myself at least 15 minutes, let's say a 15-minute bar to kind of let me know that maybe there is a possibility that it could reverse from here,
yeah.
right? And not just willy nilly say, oh, okay, I reached location, it must go. So no, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way.
Do you think it's the dopamine rush? Oh my God, I want another one. Ah!
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I'm sure that there's an element of that. I think people get an emotional rush when they're in a winning trade,
Yeah,
and they feel like that the market is their oyster, so to speak, and they can do anything. I find that the best thing I can do for myself, if I'm really itching for that reversal, is to let that 15-minute kind of tell me,
go by.
and then if the
Yeah.
15 minutes at least can sustain in that direction, then I would entertain it. But that's usually the lowest time frame I would accept.
Yeah, that's the same for me. I try not to trade immediately after I've won a trade,
Mm.
and I'll go a step further and I will say that if I've already had a winning trade, I will actually walk away for an hour just
Oh
to
wow,
give because
yeah,
what
absolutely,
especially in London, because
yeah.
you have this whole overlap thing, and I do carry over some trades into the overlap,
Hmm.
especially if London is like the biggest moving session,
Right.
which is the case for copper right now. Strangely,
Okay.
like London actually moves. I mean, both, all 3 sessions, Asia, London, and New York actually move pretty well for copper.
Hmm.
But we do have periods of the year where copper moves like 140 for London and then only about 90 ticks in for the New York session. So,
Mm.
that makes London the main session. So when the overlap kicks in, you're not going to get that huge increase in volatility and a huge increase in sizes of candles that can completely, whack you across the face.
Right.
And suddenly you're like, well, what happened? Well, we're working on a different ATR, right? You're going to
Right.
have different people, different goals. If you're carrying over gold trades, when we're talking about gold, from London to New York is a larger, COMEX is a larger, more volatile session. So
Right.
using the stops that you're using during London, and if you're planning to take it into COMEX, you're going to have a nasty surprise, right?
Yeah.
Of, trade just not working out or losing most of your profits.
Yeah.
And gold can move very quickly. It's slower than NASDAQ, but it can still very quickly turn around. Like we saw that
Absolutely.
yesterday.
Yeah.
All right, let me have a look around the markets to see if we have anything interesting. It's still pretty early here, so Ray, you were right that last night you were saying in your coach's classroom that we have changed the daylight savings time. So this is very, very early in London. We didn't even set IB yet, so it's going to be, yeah.
Yeah.
So another sort of 7 minutes, then we're going to have the initial balance, and then we can see where they want to take it.
Right.
I don't like trading this early. Why? Because you tend to have failed auctions quite frequently, and then you find yourself running a momentum trade, and you're like, "Ew, what happened?" It's like, yeah, the initial balance set, and they decided that they couldn't find business outside of IB.
Right.
So I find that if I trade too quickly, I just don't have enough information to see what they want to do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find the gold or crude oil trading better in the London session, or?
I find gold is probably currently a little bit easier to read for me. Crude oil, for some reason, yes, it moves, but I don't usually have a great read on it during London. So let's have a look at the top-down approach here. But, right now we're kind of above value, and it's sort of pushing, but now it's arriving at VWAP. Let's start on the daily chart. And on the daily chart, yesterday we are sitting on a bullish engulfing. So that would speak to maybe an attempt of a gap fill. Maybe today, maybe tomorrow. It's possible. I knew that we weren't going to fill the gap immediately, but it started, and then they sort of ran out of power.
Right.
So maybe they want to, I don't know, take it, this whole down move in Asia could have been just a grab of liquidity to try and go higher. What do you reckon, Ray? What are your thoughts on crude oil?
Yeah, I mean, I was actually out of all the markets you kind of mentioned so far, that's the one that's kind of maybe perked my interest here a little bit. And I'm using kind of the VWAP as kind of my line in the sand, and saying, okay, well, if I can get a definitive move above VWAP, then maybe there's a chance that we can get through some of these levels and move into higher prices.
Yeah.
Out of all the markets you kind of mentioned, gold and corn or copper, sorry.
Copper, yeah.
I was looking at copper, and I said, well, do I really want to be involved in this?
Yeah, I was looking at platinum, actually. Copper looks a little bit flat to me this morning. Yeah, but platinum looks interesting because I know I have some puts below this price now. It's like there's a lot of interest around 1,000. Yeah, so that could be something that they're going to chase today. Having said that, we had a very big day yesterday, so I'm always a little bit wary of that. But if that's what the price tells me, that we're still at a short, that's what we're going to trade. Crude oil, again, I want to see what it does here, because in London, it has this nasty habit of creating neutral days to a very high statistical relevance, and that tends to put a wrench in the works for any momentum trades, even though we've had outlier days when we do trend. But that trend seems to still follow the same the way I call it, the cat and mouse chase between the sessions. So you have a trending move in Asia, then you have a bit of a boring period for the opening of the London where it doesn't have a good direction, and then it decides what it wants to do about 2 hours into London. And then we have another trending move, and then we have the craziness for NYMEX. So it's very difficult for me to read it. Anytime I try to trade crude around about this time, it just didn't, on most days, there's no momentum. Yeah, there's like, it just stops. It kind of moves about 20 ticks, 30 ticks, and that's it. That's all you can get out of it. So I'm a little bit suspicious of it from that point of view.
And coming back to that platinum again, for me, it seems like we're very much in kind of bearish structure, VWAP or below it. This line here is kind of my line to say, well, really, if I'm going to change my view on this, I'd like to see price get above this dashed line that I have here.
Yeah.
Right. If I get above there, then maybe I can get involved in some sort of retracement back step.
I have a couple of levels to the upside at 1025. And then sometimes platinum goes into these mad trends. So 1050 wouldn't be out of today's reach either. If it does one of the big trending days and it just kind of keeps going. But somehow, just seeing how they're running this, so far there's not much initiative from buyers.
Right.
Obviously, this might change, but let me just change to my screen. So yeah, crude oil, I think, definitely looks more interesting than some of the other things. Having said that, platinum had a bearish engulfing yesterday, so that was a huge down day. We were in a bit of a supply, which we can probably see on the weekly chart. Yeah, a little bit better. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, so same thing. It's not a new supply. We've tested this once before, and now this is effectively a second test. So it's still valid because it hasn't been tested multiple times, like 4, 5, 6. If we come back to these levels towards 1050, I don't think anything's going to stop it from going deeper into the supply. But right now, we have that reversal. So I wouldn't necessarily fight that too much. And I think today, maybe that continuation is not a bad idea. The average session range low for London is down at 1005.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little demand there.
Yeah. So that might be, a level of interest for like a scalp or something. But again, I don't want to go too much against the large time frames because that never really ends well. Right now it's all just on a 4 hours. I mean, it's just going down, down, and down, right?
and it's breaking structure along with it. So
So yeah, I wouldn't really fight platinum downtrend for now, at least until we get to 1005. And maybe even that round number of 1,000. So that's probably going to be my attempt. But again, in 1 minute, we're going to have the IB set. And then we can maybe look for a setup. So let me see how much space that offers me. So down to ASR low, that's about 56 ticks. And then a really nice extended target if we're going to shoot for ADR, which is closer to that 1,000 level. Yeah, that's a lot of profit margin. So yeah, let's see whether there's momentum there in a while. Obviously, I want to see the IB break, and I don't want to see it spend time inside the initial balance because that would be a bad thing for my short trade idea.
Yeah, it is coming in on the ADR level you mentioned, average daily range right here. So that could offer us a little bit of a scalp, maybe back up to at least VWAP.
Yeah.
And if we can get above
VWAP,
then I think that could carry some legs and head higher.
Yeah. So it all depends on whether IB is going to be broken to the low or to the high. So that's going to be sort of our guiding star. Here from a unicorn and David Lee Roth. Hope you guys are enjoying the analysis. If you like our costumes, if you like what you're hearing as well, give us a like, guys. I mean, this is what we live for.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So yeah, it doesn't cost you anything. it's completely free, and you show your appreciation for
Absolutely.
us. So we would very much to like to see some likes. All right. Let's just do some plugs while we wait for this to happen. So we did extend lower, and let's just see if we can maybe get an entry back around IB. No, there it goes. This is what platinum does. You see, it just kind of does these like little teleports because it's a very thin market, especially this time of the day. And a lot of the times you just have to kind of take a punt that it's going to happen. But at the same time, it's kind of cheap. It's $5 a pop. It's a full contract. Yeah, but it's you can use a 35 tick stop, and it's usually enough. So let's see, maybe Dome can offer us. Yeah, so there's some contracts up at 1010. So 42 contracts around the round number of 10,010. So maybe that can be my entry. Again, very early for me, so I wouldn't expect this to necessarily work out. But look, I'm going to put a limit sell there, okay, just for one.
Okay.
And that means I'm only going to lose like 175 if this doesn't work. Now, I have this set for 350 risk. So if it triggers me in, I'm going to have to adjust the stop. That's a slightly annoying thing that we see on TopstepX, where it calculates risks in dollars over ticks. So that's like a little bit of a bottleneck if you just want to click. Because if you use NinjaTrader or any other platform, you click and it just calculates everything in ticks. Makes it a lot easier. So I do hope they at some point that they correct that, because I think it would be much easier to kind of have the ATM strategies down here, around where the dome is.
Right.
And then you can just run your hypotheses in ticks without any reliance on dollars. So it would automate things a little bit better. But yeah. All right. So what have we got? So obviously we have some other programming. You guys know Coach Jay and Coach Paul. They do At the Buzzer every single day, Monday to Friday. And they're going to have Nick for a tick on today. So Nick is going to be joining them for a special Halloween edition. So that's going to be pretty cool. And we're also going to have Coach Jay here on Monday. He is an early riser, so I'm grabbing him to do a little bit of analysis for us during the London session as well. And I'm going to see if I can drag Dakota over as well. Now, obviously, that would mean that the guy doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
So I always feel bad.
Yeah.
Crazy boy. But yeah, so we're going to see if we can get him over here to maybe talk about Nikkei as well. He trades that a lot. That is his main market, even though he trades NQ a lot too. But, you know, it's it should be an interesting thing. He's a very funny guy as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, let's see. We've got a question from Eddie. I can't read that. It's too far away, guys. I don't have my reading glasses. But Eddie's asking you a question. What do you consider initial bounce time? 1 hour, 30 minutes, etc. from the New York Open session on NQ and ES. So NQ and ES, I just got triggered into a trade. Adjusting my stop, 235 ticks. And then we're going to see if we can get somewhere above the round number. So it's a very, very big target. But, you know, first let's see if there's any juice behind this short move. But they hunted that liquidity at 1010. So we are now in. And now it's up to them. Whether we end up in a failed auction or not, we'll see. Anyways, this is now $175 risk. So not risking too much. We'll see. So he says, what do I consider IB time? Okay, so I follow the original Dalton rules on that. So I consider initial balance time to be 1 hour. So not 15 minutes, not 30 minutes, but actually an hour. And sometimes it can even take you longer than an hour if it's a quieter day. Excuse me. But generally for NQ and ES in the cash session during New York, you will have the regular cash session open, right? So you will have, what's that, 9:30 Eastern up to
Right.
10:30
9:30 to
Eastern?
10:30.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that would be the IB. What about you, Ray? Are you still using
Yeah.
1
Yeah.
hour?
No, my initial balance range is definitely in that 1 hour range. So yeah, I usually wait for NQ in any of the equity markets is from 9:30 to 10:30. If you are looking more crude oil, then that would be 9 to 10 Eastern, and then gold would be 8:30 to 9:30. So those, even though technically gold opens, I think at 8:20, I use 8:30 as a time for.
Yeah, a lot of the platforms won't allow you to run it from 8:30, even though on my charting platform where I have my Blatic indicators, you can actually start the profiles at 8:20 because they do have 10-minute charts as well. But I still keep it at 8:30. I think it just makes it pretty simple, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So one good thing about Platinum is that it popped the trade and then it stopped moving. Now, is this the platform or are we actually not moving? I mean, the dome is sort of moving, isn't it? I'm always a bit paranoid that the platform's not gonna. Yeah, like, is it stuck? I'm not sure. Don't think so.
No, there it is.
Yeah,
We'll push.
it's moving. It's moving.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll
Yeah.
push.
See, this is London. It's like it's not anything like you see.
No.
You're like, did that move? Is my
Yeah.
internet on? It's really not that
Yes.
that lively. So yeah. But yeah, let's see if they can, like, what I'm looking for now is that they hold it underneath the initial balance, which is kind of right on the nose here. So initial balance edge is 10.10.6, I believe. So it's sort of right there. And another thing I want to see is that we remain underneath these ribbons. If we don't, obviously my stop loss is just there, so I'm going to get hit, and that's perfectly fine. As long as you will have losses, guys. You can't just not have losses. Like right now, I'm on a 10-day streak in this account, but that doesn't mean that I don't lose trades intraday. I do. It's just that by the end of the day, everything kind of comes back to positive if I'm in a drawdown, or if the day goes well, I just maintain that throughout the day, or I stop when my trade number for the day is over. And I do have a max number of trades per day. So yeah, let's just let this percolate and develop. I do wish I had bookmap, but I'm kind of afraid I'm going to crash the stream because my I don't know what happened one time, but I had everything open and I don't know whether it was my fault or whether it was just the YouTube stream that crashed. So now every time I have guests on, obviously we want to stay here and chat for the duration of the London session time designated. So I did switch it off. But what I will be looking for is to see whether there are any orders coming in around about this area, or maybe a little bit higher where this localized point of control is on the volume profile, very, very small volume profile. So yeah, if we start to kind of knock on the door of 10-12, it's going to be a bit of a drawdown, but not terrible. So I'm actually going to commit to this trade and just let it do whatever it needs to do. Until we wait and see whether there's more sellers here. They certainly tried to take it lower.
Yeah, I would say that 10-12 seems like a logical level. If it's going to hold, it's going to hold that level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that anchor VWAP. I went ahead and drew from the start of the session here, and that's also a little line in the sand I used as well. So
yeah. So Mazg says, never heard about European session initial balance. Really? Is that a real thing? Or something like the unicorns? Hey.
yes, unicorn
So here's news for you, man. Or girl. I don't know which you are. Europe has the market as well, right? It's called Eurex. And guess what? London also has an exchange.
What a concept.
I know, right? So yes, there is such a thing as initial balance, and it operates pretty much very similar to the New York initial balance. Yeah. Okay, so they're reversing this sucker.
Yeah, looks like it.
Yeah. Oh well. Might catch it at a VWAP then, because I'm still thinking short here. I don't think there's too much. I just need a better trade location. That's fine.
Yeah.
So initial balance in London exactly the same as it is in New York, right? So you have the open, which is usually London Stock Exchange, so it's called LSE. And they run some of their own products, something like FTSE 100, for example, that trades on the London Exchange. So therefore, likewise, yes, we have the initial balance. So for that first hour, the reason why you don't want to get too involved is because it's the time when market makers are most active. Now, it's not that they kind of move the market. It's just that they're doing a lot of volume. So that means not having a clear direction. And if we're going to have a directional move, that typically appears after that period of when they, do their work for the morning. They maybe go off for lunch or coffee or something like that. And then things start to shift towards the other time frame participants that are the big players in banks, institutions, all of that. So they have some very different goals. They will typically be very well hedged. And anytime you see a move caused by the institution, that's usually because they're switching something in their balanced portfolios. And that's a lot of volume, right? But they have different goals. They might be hedging equities through some put options, for example.
Right.
Or they have covered calls, or there's like a million ways that they can hedge their positions. And typically you will see the offloading of like equities. We saw a little bit of that yesterday into the close in NQ and ES ahead of the earnings, right? We saw everything kind of jumping off a cliff in a pretty violent manner, but at the same time, we had the earnings, and I haven't actually looked at what they did after that. Yeah, it just fell off a cliff. Yeah, so obviously this kind of thing, I'm just going to go to an ES chart on the left. And maybe go to a 30-minute chart just to get the ugliness of it. So here we go. This was the New York session. Let's maybe make that a little bit bigger. And, initial balance sets, we have a failed auction. It begins to melt down. Can't hold VWAP, and it just starts going down. We had a little bit of a pop for the time of day that I call the day range fill. And we tried to fill part of the range, right? It tries to go a little bit higher, but then the meltdown continues into the close. And then the earnings gap, and then since then, a very, very minute rally. There was also an opportunity to go short from VWAP. And since then, if you caught this, if you shorted off overnight VWAP in ES, you're sitting pretty today, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Beautiful move. Whoever caught that. Nice. Yeah. All right, so I'm still alive.
I was hanging out at 10, 12 area, so got a little reversal candle, which is nice to see.
Yeah, it's still there, still alive.
Yes.
Doesn't mean it's going to survive, but we're still alive for now.
Yes.
Again, controlling risk, especially for the first couple of trades, to not, make a dent of about $1,000 immediately upon first try. That usually helps with the mental side of things as well, especially in prop accounts. Yeah. So how do you approach your day? Do you change your position sizes, or are you just still I remember you?
Yeah, I generally start, I'm pretty consistent on my position sizing. I may, on occasion, depending on the confidence level of the opportunity, I may move to micros, depending on the instrument. So a way to get a half a mini, I'll go 5 micros, so to speak, right? So I said, well, I'll start with that position, like kind of like a scout position. And then as the market moves my way, I'll then maybe add another, 5 micros to get it to a full mini and that sort of thing. So it really depends, I guess. If I'm really at a nice edge, then I'm inclined to go with a couple of minis. If I feel like I'm in a, kind of an area that can go either direction, then I would say that maybe I go with a little less risk. It's always risk first. We look at risk first, and then add to as the market proves to us that it's moving in our way.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm similar, so I do like to sometimes when this happens, but the trade still proves correct. I will actually add onto this, and
Yeah.
on platinum, I do trade two because it's $5 a pop, right?
Right.
So usually when I start, like this was a bit of a punt, right? I saw that 42. I have a hypothesis that we're going to go towards the 1000s. And, I tried it with one. If this didn't survive, all I would have lost is $175, not 300, not 500, not a grand,
Correct.
certainly not
Correct.
$3,000. But yeah, now if we still manage to get down below the ribbon, I might add to this, and then that would be my kind of full position for this particular account at this stage. Because again, it's still a new account. It's I've taken it very slow in the beginning, and we have a bit of a buffer, but this is not like I see some people who are like, oh, I've got $5,000. I'm just gonna go and spend $3,000 on the day.
Yeah.
You can't be doing that. That's like more than 60% of the account, man. Like what the hell? So I like to manage my balances, especially in the beginning, by kind of assigning a quarter of the balance to a potential bad day. So even if I go down to, minus 1.3, it's not going to be terrible. But at the same time, I know that I have come back from those sorts of bad days or lost days very quickly. It doesn't do anything to derail my mental side of things. But it's all down to, for me at least, the pain threshold sort of decreases with the size of the account. So it becomes lower and lower, right? So the lower the balance, the higher the higher your anxiety over what's going to happen. And that's the point. If you start experiencing that, you need to size down. That's like the first sign that you're not doing something right. If your trade elicits too much emotional reaction, you're trading too large. Like, there's no...
Yeah, that's a common question that you get from traders is, hey, when do I size up? I said, well, whatever your mindset will allow.
Yeah.
When you size up, right? If you start getting nervous when you're trading 5 lots, then you probably need to reduce that, right?
Yeah.
There's no point in trading
we
more.
shouldn't experience anxiety when you're in a trade. It should be relatively comfortable. You should be comfortable to lose the amount of money. So again, like Ray says, risk first, right? So you should be comfortable to lose the amount of money per trade without it derailing your account balance. And if not, you're trading too large. I'm sorry. Now there's diminishing returns. Then we've seen Dilesh still pumping 77 days, but he's averaging what, $8 per day? I mean, he's great because he obviously has some consistency, but it's going to take him like forever and a day to actually get a payout that way because he's never. I think they should just let him take the grand out. To be honest,
they should. They should.
He deserved it, man. Come on.
Yeah. For that kind of persistence.
Yeah, exactly. So don't go too small. So there is a point where if you're never even close to your daily loss limit, well, then why do you have it set at that? But at the same time, if you're experiencing anxiety, you need to size down. So look for that emotional equilibrium of comfort versus sizing inside yourself. I can't tell you what that is because it's different for everyone. I certainly know that whenever I'm trading with size, Ray, you've seen me trade size, but that was on a crazy size account. I'm not trading even trading with $100,000, that would still be like 1 or 2 lots, maybe 3 if the setup is like really, really good. But that's the kind of risk tolerance that I have. And obviously on prop accounts, we do go a bit harder because it's a prop account and it doesn't really, matter if you completely lose it. But at the same time, we shouldn't be so irresponsible to just kind of blow the accounts and just go F it.
Correct. Yeah, and like I said, it introduces things that you don't need in your trading. I think that's the biggest thing, right? I think we want to be as objective as possible when we enter and exit trade, and having size just brings an element to your trading that you just don't need to deal with. I think is the operative. I think So you're better served. And that's kind of the same kind of thing that when you talk to people about, I knock it out of the park on a demo account. So but you don't have any skin in the game.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, there's no risk there.
No risk, right?
Yeah, it's all about the mental side.
The XFA account, I can't seem to hold it. I said, well, that's
I mean, look, I could easily jump out of a plane if I know that there's a big air bubble underneath me, right, and a
Right.
cushion.
Right.
I don't care. I'm not scared
Right.
of heights. I'm not nothing. And it's not that I'm scared of heights anyways, but would I be going skydiving as a pleasurable activity? Well, I did it once, didn't really enjoy it much, and I'm never
Yeah.
going to do it again, right? But
Yeah.
it's a different feel. It's a different
Correct.
feel in your head. It's like now you don't have a net, you don't have, a big old mattress that's going to greet you at the end. And
Yeah.
and it's like,
I've yet
oh
to
shit, right?
meet a demo trader not be successful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. And this is the whole problem. People practice on demo with no skin in the game, and then suddenly it matters, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
why am I not successful? I do so well on a
Yeah.
demo. Well, it's because, this is the reason why you have people actually Alex Ferreira, right? He's our partner now. So
Yeah.
I bet that many people who have dealt with a little bit of like skiing and stuff, you've done a few tricks, right? You've done a few tricks, but doing it in a competition set. And doing it with no training wheels, knowing that you can smash yourself up, that's not going to be the same thing as you just kind of practicing a little bit on the slopes, here and there,
Right.
and then not really having any skin in the game, right? When he is competing against other people who are also the best in the world. So he has to be at the top of his game. And in trading, unfortunately, there's no such thing as training wheels. Well, we do have combines, but you're still up against everybody and anybody who's been doing this for a very long time. So they will try and find inefficiencies in your own trading, right? And that's what they hunt for. It's not that, oh, they're big, bad, mean institutions. No, they just know where an average punter is going to place their stops. I even know that. I can tell you that with quite some certainty.
Right.
And then when I see someone placing stops, like let's say that they're in let's say a long position, right? Let's say they went against me, we're in a failed auction, whatever, and they placed their stop at 10.10. Is that a good stop loss placement? No. Why isn't it a good stop loss placement?
But price has been there before.
Yeah. Price has been there before.
Stop when price hasn't been.
Correct. And you're breaking structure, right? We're breaking structure. It's like, where is the low here? Well, it's not at 10.10, is it?
Yeah, it's down.
It's down
below.
at the low was at 7.5, but really, to be perfectly safe, your risk for a long should be 7, right? 1,007.
Yeah.
That's how you don't break the structure. So that's what we mean when we say, where is risk? You look for structure to justify the amount of risk that you're going to take. But even so, if you are looking at your stops at 1,007, maybe a better position, so just hear me out, better position would be to enter below the round number and then put your stop even lower than the low. Now, that would be a very strong position.
Right.
That would be a very strong position.
Right. And there's a difference between 2-minute structure and 15-minute structure and 30-minute structure, right?
Yeah.
I compare it to kind of fences. I'd say, well, daily is kind of like your brick fence.
Yeah.
Or I don't know, 2-minute is kind of like your chicken wire.
Yeah. Some hay tied up together.
Yeah, exactly. So those play into. I mean, if you place your stop underneath the 15 or 30-minute structure, that's going to carry a little bit more weight than a 2-minute structure. So,
yeah. Because there's so much more trading information inside it, right? So the more volume created over time, that's going to be a stronger level anytime.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Right. Let's have a look at the chat. What's going on in the chat? I think Wheels SBT says Europeans are real. Whoa. I learn something new every day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know.
Absolutely.
I'm European. Guess what?
Wow.
Yeah. I'm not a clone. AI clone.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Just checking. I once set a set. So Wheels says I once set a 6-cent profit day after 6 trades. just back and forth all day until I hit my 6 trades max. Yeah, exactly. That's how it should be, right? If you are working on the basis that you have a certain number of certain number of trades per day, whatever happens in those 6 trades, that is the end, right? It's the end. There's no more. Like I work based on time of day and the number of trades. So if either one of those gets reached, I will stop. So it doesn't matter whether I'm up on the day, down on the day, or I'm not happy or whatever. I will stop. Because there's no more opportunities at that point for me for the time of day, but also because I've already spent my budget for the number of trades per day. To me, that's actually a much better way of managing a position, and it kind of solves that problem of when do I stop? Well, not before your daily loss limit, but just. Which most people, they use it as their stopping point. Well, how about you assign a number of trades per day? You trade that, win or lose, whatever happens, you walk away. Try that. That's worked for me.
Yeah, and I think that's especially true if you are running into a situation where you're in a bit of a drawdown, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You want to minimize the number of trades and say, okay, you know what? Until I get myself back in, the right frame of mind or right kind of streak here, I'm going to just take one trade per session. Right, on that instrument and call it a day. Win or lose, right?
Yeah. So we have Shozier asking, what is Ray dressed as?
Where's what?
What is Ray dressed as? Is David Lee Roth, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm channeling David Lee Roth. David Lee Roth, famous guitarist, lead singer.
Yeah. Some people maybe are a bit too young in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
David Lee Roth may not be something that resonates. Yes.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm just a random unicorn. I do have some other costumes for later on, but they haven't arrived yet. So I had to dust off my unicorn. Yeah.
Well, it's funny is when I started the session, I saw you dressed up as a unicorn. I had to scramble and find my David Lee Roth wig and.
I did say last night. I sent you a message. I was like, I'll be having my unicorn wig.
Yeah, exactly. So I was kind of, I have to kind of play the part here. So.
Yeah. No, I was given clear instructions that yes, it's a special Halloween special. So
Correct.
I'm going to be on later for Trade with Topstep segment as well.
Okay.
So I'm going to hopefully have the costumes arriving. So that's going to be a laugh. Yeah.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to be a unicorn all day.
Yeah, I have a VIP check-in for my. Mindset hunters.
Yeah.
So I'll be David Lee Roth will be making an encore performance here later.
He's got a busy day.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yeah. What time is it for Coach Ray? Thanks for sacrificing your sleep to be here.
Oh, it's pretty late. Yes, it's coming up on 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So we're going to be finishing up soon. If you guys have any more questions, let's rattle through them quickly. Okay, so any specific reason why 6 trades? Look, 6 trades, it's not like, oh yeah, you got to do 6 trades. Sometimes if you are again, it would be very, very personalized, trader to trader, personal preference. Some people like to trade more. Other people like to be more snipery and only trade 1 to 2 trades per day. So depending on your personal preference, do you consider yourself a more active trader or not? How are you doing with being a more active trader? If you trade 6 trades and you're still losing, well, maybe trim that down to 3. You're still losing, trim that down to 1, right? So you need to, the way I teach people, and I think the way Ray also coaches people, is to look for quality over quantity, right? Now, the reason why I trade more than 1, 2, or 3 sometimes is because I trade multiple products. So sometimes I might trade 1, and then that's not doing what I want it to. And I decide to move on to something else. So I might take 10, 15 ticks. It's like I've given it, an hour or something. Let's move on to something else. So this is where slightly more trading, like 5 or 6 in a day, might come from. But generally, I try to stick personally to about 5 trades per day. If the day is a little bit range bound, you might see me go up to 9 or 10, purely because if you have two range bound markets, I might scalp up like 3 trades on one, another 3 on another one, and then that will be my day. But then I might find an end of day trade as well. So I'm like, oh, this looks pretty good. Let's do a rally into the crude oil settlement. So that will be my 7th trade, right? But it all depends whether I'm up on the day or down on the day. If I'm up on the day and I have a good buffer and I want to keep going, I will actually lower my position size for those. So anything over 6 trades, I will lower the position size. I won't increase it. So I do quite the opposite. The more buffer that I build, I reduce position size. And that way you're not going to take away too much from the profit that you've already worked so hard for, right? But yeah. Right, so I'm still in this platinum trade.
Oh.
Yeah, it survived.
Starting to work out a little bit, starting to grind down. Actually, we're starting to get below some of these levels.
Yeah, so I'm going to leave this in. I'm going to leave it in to do its thing. Just give it time. For now, I'm not going to add to this because it didn't immediately do what I expected it to do. So I'm just going to leave it at whatever this is. And then if I do end up in my target, it's going to be anywhere between 300 and 400. I don't think I'm probably going to keep it for 90 ticks unless we get some mad trending move in the next hour or so. But yeah, I'm not going to be adding to this. I don't think this is a good opportunity anymore. Otherwise, it would have gone into profit and it would have carried on. So just by the fact that they've fumbled around the initial balance and now they're sort of still below it, but we kind of went up and then we went down and then we tried. It spells lack of commitment at this point. So I don't want to put more cash there. All right. So Brooksy says, the problem with assigning 6 trades a day is that you'd hunt for that many trades. No, so this is not... Okay, so let's get back to it. Ray, can you take this, please?
Yeah.
I'm just going to get annoyed now.
I think it comes down to, like Dee has alluded to earlier, it's quality over quantity, right?
Yeah.
And whatever that quality is, it's basically your next good trade, right? And if
it's not 6 trades do or die.
Good trade, right?
Yeah, it's not like I have to do 6 trades today or to die.
I have a quota of 6. No, not like that.
No,
right?
It's just a goal that if you're there, if you've already done 6, you stop. And that goes for any goal, monetary or number of trades per day. So that's the way I look at it. It's not to chase. It's not there to chase 6 trades. It's like, I have to find a trade. If there's no 6 trades opportunity, don't trade. Yeah.
And that goes for daily profit goals too.
Yeah.
Right. If we say, hey, I need to make $1,000 per day. Well, there may not be $1,000 opportunity that day.
Yeah.
Right. So we have to be comfortable with that and say, well, today is just $750. I'm just going to have to.
Or 900.
Maybe tomorrow will give me a $1,250 day.
Yeah. Or 900.
That $1,000 I wasn't to make the night before. So.
I've seen people get to 970 and then they're like, I'm just going to chase the last 30. It's like, don't do that.
And
just walk
they're
away.
leaving with 500 or 250.
Or minus or 3K.
Yeah. So
easy.
Yeah, no, it's just, again, it's kind of a process, process and finding good locations and, finding good opportunities.
Yeah.
And leave all the other kind of goals like, number of trades, profit targets or whatever to the side. If it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
But we're not kind of married because you end up doing things that you maybe may end up regretting as a result of that.
Exactly.
Trying to reach that goal. So
Yeah, exactly. Paul H wants to know, is that from a former school play? No, because my school plays were like 30 years ago, I don't know, maybe longer. So definitely not. It would be a very old wig. Believe it or not, I actually bought this. It was like a couple of years ago when I was doing the Christmas live stream. So I bought a unicorn outfit. I actually had a full-on outfit, which was like a little bit disco and stuff, like 70s ABBA sort of style. But I think I threw that out, and all that remains is just the unicorn wig. So yeah. Do you like longs into regular trading hours in equities? At the moment, I would say no. Ray, what say you?
What was the question?
Do we like longs into regular trading hours in equities?
Automatically, just long?
Yeah.
No, not at all. I would say that we're probably looking more short,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We're looking
I
a
mean,
little
we'll
bit bearish.
see. Yeah. We don't know at the end of the
Yeah,
day. But right
yeah,
now, we do have a bit of an outlier day where it's gone way too far overnight. So, some rally, like a correction could happen.
yeah.
Yes.
Maybe a little mean reversion back to VWAP, something like
Yeah.
that might be something that you could play. But
Yeah. And then watch what happens around overnight VWAP. If it can't break
yeah,
through it, well, that will be your trade signal.
correct.
Right. Yeah, I think it took me. What happened there? Hold on. It took me out. Weird. Right. So I had my risk set at 175, but somehow my position got closed at 138. Not quite sure what happened there.
Mm.
Huh. Interesting. And 35 ticks is definitely 175. So, yeah, this is a platform thing.
Mm-hmm.
Never mind. I might try and position myself again in here once I go back to investigate what exactly happened to this trade.
Now, up on that VWAP area, I think that little purple line
Yeah,
that you have up on the top,
10,
I think that would
15.
be, for
Yep.
me at least, would be a very nice location
Yeah,
to
it would be the
for
ideal.
a continuation trade. I think
Yeah,
that would be excellent. I think you can manage your risk there very
yeah,
nicely.
yeah, yeah.
So
It would be the most ideal trade location.
yeah,
Yeah, I do like that.
yeah.
But yeah, I'm just a little worried as to why this happened. So I'm gonna have to do some digging. All right, let's see. I think that's it. All right, guys, we're gonna finish it up here. So thank you for joining us. Somebody's saying to me, I can't take you seriously when the unicorn wiggles all around the place. Hey, this is what we're here for, right?
It's difficult to
Tradertainment,
take
guys.
financial advice from a unicorn.
Yes,
I
it is
get
not
it.
financial advice from a unicorn. Definitely not. Not a signal
Yes,
service either. So follow
yes,
your own plan.
yes.
But yeah, I'm glad that my wiggling horn is actually giving you a little bit of joy today. So there you go. All right, thank you for hanging with us. This was pretty cool. Catch Ray later on today
Yeah,
again as David Lee Roth. When are you on
yes.
today, Ray?
Let's see. It's going to be, I think, around 10. I think it's going to be around 10:15 Eastern time. 10:15.
10:15 Eastern, so that's
Yeah,
9:15 Central.
yeah.
And I'm going to be on at 1 p.m. Central, which is 2 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully I'll have another costume by then because I'm
Excellent.
waiting for them to arrive. All right. Thank you for hanging. This is a great session, very fun. So join us for the rest of the broadcast a little bit later on today. Until then, it's been my pleasure to be your host today. I'm Deeyana Angelo. This was Coach Ray. And this was TopstepTV for the London session. Take care.